Hello, and welcome to our session on conditional statements. You should have already completed the do now. If you have not completed do now, please pause this video and work on it. We're going to go over it right now. So first, I'm going to open this exercise in Popcode. And so the directions are, you should always read the directions and make sure you're logged in. Guess the password. If you figure it out, try to change the password in the code. So I'm going to guess the password is Michael. My name. Looks like that's wrong and I was denied access. Let's try LeBron James. Wow, got the password right. Look at that. So if I wanted to change the password, I'd probably look in the JavaScript to figure out what the password was set to, right? So it looks like the password is checking if the password is equal to LeBron James. So I'm going to change it to Michael. All right, so if I go back and test our program, if I enter LeBron James, it doesn't work anymore. But if I enter Michael, it looks like it works. All right, so how is that so? We're going to learn some more about that in today's session. So let's read the objective together. Coders will use conditional statements to build an interactive website. And our vocabulary is condition, conditional statement, if, else if, and, or, and comparison operators. All right? So we're going to skip this. All right, so what I want you to do is think of a number between 1 and 10. All right? So now I want you to raise your hand, pat your belly, or pat your head. The number is less than 6. Okay? What happened, right? You raised your hand or patted your belly or rubbed your head, depending on if a situation was true or not. Okay? And that's what conditions are all about. Conditions are all about circumstances or situations. Usually conditions are developed because they help people make decisions, or people or programs make decisions. For instance, if I wake up before my alarm, I'm going to go back to sleep, right? If I wake up, if my alarm is going off, or it's after my alarm has gone off, I'm going to wake up and get ready to go start my day, all right, by brushing my teeth, all right? If it's raining outside, I bring an umbrella. If it's snowing outside, I bring gloves. If both of those things aren't true, I know I can bring my sunglasses out, right? And here's like some compound and more complex conditionals. If the door is locked and you have the key, you can unlock the door. If the door is locked and you don't have the key, you want to knock on the door. Somebody may open it up. Else, the door must be unlocked so you can open the door. So when you write code, you often want to perform different kinds of actions based on different situations or conditions. So for example, in our do now, we had a password condition, right? So if the password was correct, we were able to log in. If that password was incorrect, we received an error and say, hey, the program said, hey, that password is not right. You are not granted access, right? And you can use conditional statements to do this. This is a very powerful tool that allows you to control the flow of your program. So an if statement executes a block of code if the condition is true. Or else it executes a different block of code because the condition is false. So here's the syntax of a conditional statement, right? So we have our keyword if, parentheses to hold a condition, your first condition, and then some curly braces, and in that set of curly braces, we have the body of our conditional statements, which tells the computer to do something. If that first condition isn't true, we want to test for another condition, we have an else if, which is another keyword or a set of keywords. All right, and then we have our parentheses with our condition there that we're checking, our curly braces in the body with a body that tells us what to do or a program what to do. And then we have else, which if all those things fail or all those things are false, we would just do what's in these curly braces. So let's dig into this. A condition is between the parentheses. The result should be true or false. So this is where you check the condition. Here we're checking if the variable password is equal to, that's what those three equal signs mean, the string we have here, which is coordination with a 0 as an O. JavaScript has a lot of comparison operators. They're kind of detailed here. So we have this triple equals, which check if two values are equal, so equal value and equal type. All right. So here we're checking if x is equal to the string 5. All right. So in our top part, we can see that x is actually equal to the number 5. So this is false. 5, the number, is not equal to 5, the string, when you use three equal signs. You have another operator that checks if things are not equal, right? So 5, the number, is not equal to 5, the string. So the result of that condition is true. Then we have the greater than symbol, which you're familiar with, the less than symbol, the greater than or equal to symbol, which looks a little different in JavaScript, so definitely check that out, and then less than or equal to symbol. And these conditions should all help you figure out a result which is true or false. All right, so what is the difference between these two pieces of code below, assuming the variable number has been declared previously? Take a second to think about it. Okay, what'd you come up with? So I think this one on the left, right here, sets the variable number equal to 5. That sets the value of this variable number equal to 5. This one on the right checks the condition, checks if number has a value of 5, the number, right? So this is a condition that's being checked. This is an assignment of a value. Okay, so we talked about these comparison operators. Here you see the three equal signs. We know that's checking if these two things are equal in value and type. Then we have the body here that is the result, takes place if the result is true, if the result of the condition is true. Here we would show any elements with the class of button. So a true condition executes the block of code in the if body. A false condition executes the block of code in the else body. Right, so if you check, it checks if this is true or false. If it's false, it keeps moving, and eventually we'll get to else and check. And we don't need to check anything. We just know if those aren't true, we have to do this. So the else body will execute if the previous conditions aren't met. All right. So here's an example with multiple conditions that we have to check before we get to that else. So else if allows you to set more than 2 conditions. All right. So you can use as many else ifs as you want. You can use if, else if, and else together to kind of control what you want your program to do in different situations, scenarios, or conditions. You can also chain conditional statements together with and. So you can see and using in JavaScript, you're going to write that ampersand, ampersand, and or using these pipes that you'll see on your keyboard all the way to the right. And requires both conditional statements to be true, or requires one of the conditional statements to be true. So what does this condition evaluate to? What code would run, and what is the outcome? Take a second to think about it. So this is checking if blue is equal to blue, the string blue is equal to the string blue, and it is also checking if the string red is equal to the string green. So the string blue is equal to the string blue, so that's true. So this evaluates to true. The string red is not equal to the string green, so that evaluates to false. So a true and a false makes a false. So we would not run this body right here. We run whatever is in this else body. We would yell false. What about this one? What does this condition evaluate to? What code will run? What is the outcome? Take a second to think about it. So we have a variable that's declared here called number, and we set it equal to 7, the number. So our condition checks if number is less than or equal to 8, and if number is greater than or equal to 6. So is 7 less than or equal to 8? True. Is 7 greater than or equal to 6? That is also true. So a true and a true equals a true. So you would pat your head, right? That function, pat your head, would run. What about this one? All right, so we still have this variable that's equal to 7. Here we're checking if number is greater than or equal to 8, and number is greater than or equal to 6, or number is less than 10. So let's go through this. Number 7, is 7 greater than or equal to 8? No, that's false. Is 7 greater than or equal to 6? That is true. All right. So a false and a true when you have an and statement, an and operator is false. So we have false on one side. And then we have to check this or. Is number less than 10? True. So we have true on the right side and false on the other. Now, since we're checking or, that works out to true, right? So we would pat our head and that body, pat that function in the body would run pat your head. All right. So now we're going to work on this love language app. All right. Do you know your love languages? Have you read that book? Let's build this app to work and practice our conditional statements. Okay. A few technical difficulties, but we are back on it. It's time to work on our guided practice. So first thing we want to do is read the directions. Write a program that displays information to the user based on their inputted love language. At the top we have, and now we're going to read our starter code. At the top we have this div with the class of header. In this div we have an h1 tag, a div with a class of menu, some more divs that hold the physical touch, words of affirmation, these love languages. And we can see that right here. And then below that, we have a paragraph tag, an input tag, a button that we can see right here. And then we also have these divs that we can't see on the page. And we can't see them on the page because we have this JavaScript written here. And then below that, we have an event handler that allows us to have something happen when a button is clicked. When that button is clicked, we declare a variable called love and save the input value to it, and then change whatever's input in there to lowercase. So our first task is to update the code so text information in the correct image or display when the user inputs physical touch as their love language and clicks a button. So when someone clicks a button, if We need a conditional. If the input, so we know our input is saved to the variable love, is equal to, so we need our equal signs, physical touch, then we want this information about physical touch to show up on the page. So here we're going to use this class of touch. And show the content in that element. So let's try it out. So if I type physical touch, that shows up, all right? So now the next task is to update the code so the text information is correct and display when the user inputs words of affirmation as their love language and clicks the button. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste. Here we're going to use an else if. We want to include words of affirmation. Affirmation, let's make sure we spell things right. And then we want to look for the words of affirmation class, and that's just words. And let's see what happens if we type this. Get our words of affirmation. Okay, we should always have an else. All right, in case somebody types in something that is, or in case we're testing this and something goes wrong, all right? Maybe we should just change this to failure, actually. Okay. What happens if somebody types in physical touch with capital P and T? Let's see if our lowercase function actually works. Great, works fine. What if somebody wants to type in touch? It's a physical touch, you know? So then we could use our or operators and then check that as well. Equal to touch. Let's see if that works. Great, works. Does physical touch still work? Cool. And let's try words as well. Great. And now you're going to work on the independent practice yourself. You can pause this video and work on the independent practice. Okay, welcome back. We're going to work on our project now. So I don't know about you, but I'm always hungry. So we are going to create a vending machine app that lets us cure our hunger. So here we have a demo of what the app would look like. This is very basic, make it better. So here we have exactly how much money you have in your wallet. The prices for 2 items in the vending machine, Coke and chips, and an option to buy something. So if I want to buy chips, okay, you can see the money I have in my wallet goes down. It went down $1.25, and now I have $8.75. And I have purchased some chips. I bought chips for $1.25. All right. So think about what you know about this project. What do you think you'll need to build it, and what do you already know how to build. So think about what data we would need to store and what are their starting values, right? Kind of just like do now. Starting values for the variables or the data that we're storing, right? So here is some help for you. So we'll need a place to store our money. We'll need a place to store our number of Cokes, and a place to store our number of chips. And if we want to buy a Coke, this one needs animation, some animation. So if we were to buy a Coke, this is what we would need to think about. All right, we would need to decrease the money by a certain amount and increase the number of Cokes by a certain amount. All right, so it could look something like this. Money equals money minus 1.5, cost of the Coke. And then the Cokes equals Cokes plus 1. So now you have 1 additional Coke. So this is kind of how your pseudocode would look. I want to buy a Coke and my money is more than 1.5. So we're checking when somebody buys a Coke if they have enough money to buy the Coke. If that's the case, they can buy the Coke, you take away the money, and you increase the number of Cokes purchased by 1. Well, if they want to buy chips, kind of the same process. Check if they have enough money. If they do, then allow them to buy the Coke, buy the chips, decrease their money, and increase the purchase by 1. If they can't afford it, then you can tell them, hey, you don't have enough money to buy this. All right? So let's start by looking at the project plan. Okay? So these are the things that you want your user to do. This project plan is kind of filled out for you, but as a user, you should know how much money you have to spend and what you're able to purchase. Every time somebody makes a purchase, they should know exactly what they purchased and how much it cost them. They should know how much money is remaining in their wallet, and they should know if they can't afford to purchase an item. All right, so these are some brainstorming you need to do, like what kind of vending do you want to make, movie tickets, snacks, all right? And then we have our wireframe that's built out for you. And then we have our pseudocode. So you just have to write the code, all right? Make sure you look at your starter code and walk through it the same way we did with the guided practice. You want to make sure you fork the code and pull it into GitHub. So make sure you hit fork. Don't forget to hit fork. And then copy it into GitHub or pull it into GitHub. Read your README, of course, and then use your knowledge of conditionals to finish your project. All right? Get started.